My question is about more of an obstacle to ascension. I've been having trouble with my hands, with my thumbs in particular. And I went to a doctor and he said there was inflammation. I've had this for many years, but I haven't really paid too much attention to it. But so I've been kind of investigating what is this? What does this translate to? And I have difficulties gripping. You know, it's like that was that helped me see that maybe I've been holding on too hard. It's like I've been gripping to life or to stories, narratives, feelings, dreams, illusion.
I think that's very wise, what you just said.
Yes.
And I think you need to explore what you are specifically still trying to hold on to and control and grasp. Because as he said, Padmasambhava, it's all about letting go, right? Not grasping.
Yeah.
And neither wanting nor rejecting, right? So feel what that would be like to be in that state in your heart of not wanting or needing anything and letting go of all stories and all desires, and then see if the inflammation that got somatized will now be sublimated again into the mind, but put into the heart, which is now filled with love and joy, and the flames will be cooled down and will be become the water of life that will enable healing to happen. And so I think that this could be a message about the path that you must take on your personal journey to return to God.
Yeah, that resonates a lot, and I feel it's because I have kind of started to let go. That's why I feel the pain also. Before I couldn't even feel it because I was so tense.
Yes, yes.
So I can see it as it's part of healing to feel the pain as well. The burning, it's been burning. It's better now. It is healing.
Oh, good.
And I've been aware of, you know, when there's nothing to hold on to, nothing to grasp to.
Yes.
Then there is this fear and anxiety of just being in a void, kind of.
But it's not a void.
No.
It's filled with creative potency. And it's a place of freedom and joy. But the ego will not exist there. It will dissolve into that. So that's the part that is afraid and creates that resistance. So you must see it, but not identify with it, and not breathe life into it so that it doesn't hold you back. Because that void is not a lostness. It's the portal to the presence of God, and bliss and light and love and fulfillment.
And the fear and anxiety is only there as long as the ego is there, right? When
Correct.
the ego is dissolved, I mean, there's not, who is there to know it's dissolved even?
No, that's right. There will be an awareness, but it won't be an ego's idea. It won't be a thought. And you bring up a very important point, that the more you begin to uncover, because you want to be free, the more pain will come up. So the worse you'll feel before you feel better. And that's what stops the healing process for many people. You have to be willing to feel all of it, but to know that it's unreal and that it's from the past. It's just memories. It has no ability to harm you now, except in your delusional belief that it's about the moment now, when it's not, right? It's always a repetition of an infantile pattern. So that karma, once you have let it go and no longer identify with it, the pain will ease very quickly. It won't take a long time. Okay, so the pain is not real. And it's not even your pain. It's only the program's pain that you feel as pain because you're identified with it. When you don't identify with it, it's information. It's not pain any longer. Pain is an interpretation of the information. So once you're in that state, then there's freedom. And you won't even care whether the physical symptom goes, because the body itself is the real symptom, the identification with the body. And if the body, gets rid of this symptom, others will come because the body is aging and declining, right? That's inevitable. It's not necessarily caused by, some hidden affect or subconscious fantasy or belief or traumatic memory, etc. It's not necessarily that. It's just simply that's the way life unfolds, and it's simply to motivate us to choose freedom now and allow that unconditional love to shine through the body no matter what its condition. And when you do that, that tends to have a magical effect upon those conditions.
Yeah, you said that I wrote down loosely letting be.
Yes, that's it.
Very,
Loose and easy, relaxed, tranquil, and let that be your natural state. Even in pressurizing situations in which you have to work quickly, but you're not the body, you can stay in the stillness even in the midst of activity and in the midst of thought. Because what you are is consciousness. Whether the consciousness is in stillness, like a lake that has no waves, or there's lots of waves and storms at the surface, it's still just the same water. Nothing changes. And the waves will go down, and again, there'll be stillness. So why get upset? Realize that the waves are just the energy of God consciousness in action, and enjoy the activity rather than having some opposition or worry or fear of it.
This deep sensitivity, everything's becoming personal, especially lately. Everything. A look, something I might have not done, and I'll always question myself anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what to do with that.
Okay, first of all, that was always there.
Always was there, no question.
So
It's
it's
become
not
more
like,
enhanced.
it's just
No,
coming up
not
now.
at all.
No, it's
more
always
enhanced
been
now.
there.
Yeah.
But now you're in an environment where it's more obvious.
Yes.
And it's more obvious that it's not actually being caused by external factors.
Right.
It's the pattern of the ego itself to produce those reactions in others that then your thin skin will get angry about. Okay?
Exactly.
So in a way, your anger is the punchline. Okay? That's why you do it. You feed off of the anger. That has become your fuel. Most egos live on anger and desire for conquest, etc. That has nothing to do with love and with being. So you have to recognize that you are creating all of this and make it conscious that you are creating the conditions that will then bring about that thin-skinned ego's need to be furious and also to curl up because it feels like worthless and unlovable and a failure and et cetera, right? Mm-hmm. That's the other side of the anger, right? And that's why there's anger, is that was projected on you, and you took that in, and that created a kind of a hostile dependency and a sense in which you think I'm a failure? I'll show you. I'll fail in such ways that will really make you angry, right? And
Absolutely.
Then I'll have the thin skin that will finally then blow it all to pieces, right? So that's the ego's game. And you have to recognize that that game is a dangerous one. And the ego could destroy your soul's ability to free itself. Because being here, your ego is terrified that your soul is awakening and is about to leave it behind, right? Yep. And dissolve those traits and that game. But as long as there is still a little identification with it, it's not going to let you go. So that's why you must be the god of war and destroy the demonic possessiveness of the ego that wants to control your consciousness and cause you to act out in those ways and then to suffer in the consequences karmically and never get liberated into a life of love and joy and beauty and freedom, right? Because the ego feels that's impossible for it. And therefore, it's going to be specially bad if it can't be specially good. And so it's going to keep that specialness one way or the other. But that's what has to die.
So the question I have is, there's an underlying note in my life always of fear, defensiveness, and just not in control, or just and you talked about the birth trauma, and I feel that these notes are coming from a state that's not very like I can't speak to it. Like it's so unconscious that it kind of erupts all the time.
Yes.
And you mentioned the devotion, like the devotion to the king, like that's how to get out of the state. But how to find that devotion in order to break through those cycles of the feelings coming up?
Yes. Okay, these are very good questions. So first of all, let me address the fact that birth trauma in itself, because it comes prior to language, is not something you can understand or formulate intellectually. It just produces an immediate fear reaction, even terror, paranoia, something that's completely out of sync with the actual event that's happening. You awfulize it to an extent that, other people can't say, what's the problem here? Everything is fine, relax, right? But you can't. So the problem also is that the birth trauma was only the first of a series of traumatic discoveries. For example, you discovered that you had to deal with sibling rivalry. You had to deal with negative projections. You had to deal with a breakup, right, of parents. You had to deal with your father's wish for a son rather than another daughter, right? So you had to deal with all kinds of things that produced sedimentary layer upon layer of that original trauma that in a sense proved, oh yes, it's all going to go wrong, and that the paranoia is always justified. And that no matter how nice things are now, but the storm can come at any moment, right? So that has become the predisposition of the ego. And it creates self-fulfilling prophecies. Even if they're not objectively real, they produce events that magnify anxiety, right? You have to become the witness of all that and realize that what you must be devoted to is not some God up in the sky or any theoretical belief in a supreme being. That's not what we mean by God. You'd understand that, right? God is your own consciousness. But your consciousness as it was before you created an ego and identified with it. Your consciousness was and remains infinite, but it identified with a very small defensive program against a specific situation. And then once that was hardened and became a shell around your heart, then it continued, even though your circumstances got much better and much more beautiful and different. But those projections continued to rain on your parade no matter where you would go, right? But there's no reason to hold on to them anymore. But you have to take the responsibility for cutting the cord with that child ego that's still connected to the mother, and therefore the birth trauma produced with her, and the later karma of childhood, and leave that behind and discover who you are in a timeless nature, the real self that was never seen by your mother, never appreciated by any of your family, the you that you don't know, but that you know knows you. You know there's a greater, freer level of being than the ego and its fears, right? You know that. But the light is being projected through that filter, and then it produces that kind of a situation. So retract the light back into the source of your consciousness and stay as long as possible in a state of stillness where there's no mental agitation, no waves of fear, okay? The longer you can stay in that state where there are no waves of fear being produced, the more the taste of that peace and serenity will begin to open your heart in a way that it was never allowed to open because it wasn't safe to do so. And now that it is, as your heart opens and begins to blossom, you will see the difference between the heart, which is soul energy, and the ego, which is fear energy, and you will choose to stay in soul consciousness. And the love and the light and the beauty and the power of your being will increase to such an extent that the ego program will be irrelevant and obsolete, and you'll enable it to fall away. And then give all of your attention to the light that nourishes the power of your soul to be divinized. Okay? And then you will produce tremendous amounts of nectar, of blissful, immortal light that you will share with all. Blessings.
My question's actually very synchronistically what Nirmala was talking about the hand. A couple hours ago, the idea of the hand came to me, and it led to my question, which, well, first I want to say it's undoubtable for me, since being here, that the finger of destiny is at play. And that memory and that deep contemplation of that leads me to, it feels like higher feeling states within my heart. It leads to the sweetness and peace and perhaps maybe a moment of the stillness. But nevertheless, that finger of destiny the last 2 weeks has made me now feel like the finger is perhaps a yo-yo, like a hand. And still, nevertheless, God is, animating this yo-yo, me being the ego structure, the yo-yo. And when he grips me up high, I'm like, oh, wow, yes. This is euphoric. I love this state. But then once the forgetfulness happens and the yo-yo falls down quickly, it's still on the string, but I'm still feeling that, no. I forgot myself, and then it gets flung back up. So there's this state of feeling like I'm a yo-yo. And
That's very accurate.
I don't want to identify with the yo-yo and perhaps even the feeling states, than the hand itself that is orchestrating everything, like the finger I originally feel here. And so I guess how to stop playing this game with myself.
With yourself. So it's your own finger that enjoys being a yo-yo and creating a yo-yo effect. What is there to learn from that effect?
It's honestly making me so in awe. One,
In awe of?
It's like there's one aspect where it's like the beauty of the journey.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So when you touch the beauty, which is when the yo-yo is back in the hand of God as the self, right? When you're in that state and you're not forgetting who you are, you're in joy, you're in bliss, you're fulfilled, right? So the lesson to learn is, why forget? Why ever fall into forgetfulness? And it's possible to live and never fall into forgetfulness. That's the key. Even though your ego will have to go into activity, right? And to work on things and think and all of that. But you can be in that state where you recognize that the infinite intelligence can activate its thinking and can deactivate it, and it makes no difference. You are the same being in forgetfulness and in awareness. There's no difference. Samsara is nirvana. So once you realize that it is your yo-yo playing, and you've been playing it in order to come to the non-duality of realizing this is all your own play, not you're an object that suffers from God's cruelty of forgetting you, because that never happens, right? And you're always brought back. So the more that there is devotion to being in that state, the less you'll identify with the yo-yo, because that's simply the ego's ability to function in the service of God, and you'll remain aware that you're the yo-yo player who is never touched by the yo-yo's descent, never affected by it, but you have joy when it's going down, and greater joy even when it's coming back up. But it's always beautiful and perfect, no matter what happens. So let go of the sense that you need to change the situation, and realize you are the entirety of it, and you are the dreamer of this dream. And the dreamer is always beyond it and completely unmoved, unaffected by any of the events that appear in this illusory world. Okay?
When the yo-yo is maybe coming back up with the string, maybe like as it's rising, like halfway, there's this you silly stupid girl. I mean, it's just a game. Why do you allow it to, it feels at that moment it's a snap down, but then it's a snap back up. And yeah, I think it's that recognition that it's a game all along that's been, this concept within stillness I'm trying to disidentify.
The problem is that you're creating a narrative about the yo-yo game in which you become this stupid girl, and there's a superego attack. And then it's not God holding that, but probably the bad mother who's holding it, and who makes you want to leave, but it causes a descent into the lower death drive, and then you need the love and redemption again, and you return. But when you realize that this is a false narrative that you've placed over the game itself, the game will no longer be one of suffering and separation, but just one of joy, that you are the whole spectrum of consciousness, the highest and the lowest, and you can move between them in a state of grace and never be touched by the karmic illusion that they create.
Something that you said that actually blew my mind away was thinking of that idea, because I was thinking of the all-inclusivity as something outside of myself, but nevertheless, what you're saying, it makes me think of that inclusivity within myself, of that lowest state and that highest state altogether.
Yes, it's all you. It's all the one mind. Yes.
Just wow.
So there's no one to be upset about it. It's all bliss. Satchidananda, you are that.
Thank you so much. Namaste.
Namaste. Blessings. Okay, well, I've kept you too long tonight, but we'll do this again, and I will make sure to leave more time for the questions. I'm glad that there actually were some tonight, and hopefully that will continue, and we will take our journey ever deeper into the interior of our as yet unknown divine heart. Because once you know that heart, you never return to fear or desire or ego narratives. And everything unfolds spontaneously out of the wisdom and love of the God self that is the ultimate dreamer of our lives, and that is the ultimate source of our self. Blessings to you all. Namaste.
Namaste.